Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
These are the plaintiffs, Richard Weissman and Tricia Horst. Tricia says she and her husband were hired to throw a flamboyant 75th masquerade party for the defendant. The extravagance was huge and cost wasn't an issue until it came time for him to pay up. She and her husband were paid in full, but their hard-working servers and bartenders were stiffed. It's not fair, and they're suing the cheapskate for the $5,000 they're owed. These are the defendants, Neil Zuckerman and Thomas Shivers. Neil says he agreed to pay the servers a huge rate of $15 an hour, and if the plaintiffs promise them more, that's on them. Besides, the servers the plaintiffs hired had no experience. They were on their cell phones during the big party, and there's no way he's paying anything additional. Period. End of story. They're accused of pooping out on the party planners. The defendants have filed a countersuit for $4,000 for an unethical taste testing charge.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. All right. Kenzie B. Productions Incorporated, represented here by Richard Weissman and Tricia Horst. Okay, you are suing Neil Zuckerman and Thomas Shivers for $5,000 that you say you are out in some bills that they haven't paid, plus your time and energy. You are counterclaiming $4,000 for 2 taste testings, plus your time and energy. Who's going to give me for my time and energy? All right, let me hear from, I guess, you first, Ms. Horst. What's going on?
We were hired to do a catering job for a 75th birthday party, which was a masquerade ball party, Venetian masquerade.
Oh, I wish I had gone. Okay.
Quite extravagant.
Whose birthday?
For Neil.
Okay.
And we were doing...
How many people?
It was 100 to 120 is what we were quoted.
Okay.
So we needed a lot of food, a lot of servers, bartenders, et cetera, people to help set up as well, because there was a lot of decorating to do and a lot of unloading and loading for the space.
What kind of decorating did you do?
They actually handled most of the decorating.
What kind of decorating took place for the party?
Rather voluminous, 12-foot floral arrangements.
Do you have pictures?
150 balloons.
I just want to see pictures. I want to see pictures so badly. All right. Anybody have pictures or no?
Not with me.
Oh, y'all killing me.
We have a couple pictures of the servers.
Okay.
Which you can see some of the guests in the background, but you can't.
Okay. Let me see those. Tell me what goes wrong here.
I personally and my husband were giving the job to staff. And they wanted...
How many staff was there that night?
9.
Okay.
And so I was given the job to hire attractive young people. They didn't want anyone that wasn't well kept, well groomed, on the floor, serving, bartending, setting up, picking up empty glasses or, food plates, any of that.
Okay.
Both the bartenders that were there.
How many? There's 9 people in question. Do you have resumes for them? Not really, right?
Most of them, yes.
You do have resumes.
We
Can
do.
I see them? All right. And you also promised me pictures. I don't see pictures. Yeah. Oh, I see pictures. All right. But I can't see much here. All right. Wait, is that staff wearing masks anyway? Geez, you could have hired anybody if they were going to wear masks anyway. You're covering their beautiful young faces. You know? All right, so go on.
So they showed...
Did anything go wrong at the party? Okay.
At one point, Neil made the comment that, he wanted them to move around more and be out there serving more. Then I talked to the staff, and they said, other than putting the tray under the guest's face, they couldn't force them to eat, and they didn't want to interrupt the conversations they were having.
All right, so
did.
When is the first inkling you have that there's a problem? You find out, let's jumpstart this a little. It turns out that you had promised the waitstaff that they would be getting $20 an hour, and the more experienced ones would be getting $25. And it turns out that you had not promised the waitstaff that, nor according to you, had you authorized her to do that.
Correct.
I would like to see, because that is the crux of the original problem, which was a $433 problem, that has apparently turned into a $9,000 problem, because now you've all grown to hate each other. All right, so let's talk about this. Do you have anything in writing before the party of what your agreement is, a contract, anything like that?
No.
You can't be serious.
We had done events with them many times.
So what? All of them should be with a contract.
And they've been friends.
I'm sorry, do not use contracts. You're an event planner. Event planners always have contracts.
But they've been friends forever.
But okay, that's who I want to keep as a friend. Somebody who's been friends for years, so that there is no misunderstanding later. That way you can work everything out beforehand. It's a good idea, especially when they're friends. So no contract in this case. How about emails before the event in this case that cover the issue, so that I can see what the meeting of the minds was beforehand on whether it was $15 an hour? How much did this party cost, by the way?
About $10,000 on our part.
And how much did the party cost entire?
$15,000 to $18,000 total.
On your part?
Yeah.
All right. So you receive a bill. Okay, first of all, tell me what you think the problems were with the party that night.
The problems were that the 7 out of the 9 people that they brought to us to hire did not know what they were doing. They would come out with the food, and they'd stand a group of the 3 passers or 4 passers. I had to go over to them, and I had to pull them aside to teach them that what you do is you go over to the people, you show them the tray. They can either take it or not, but that you don't all group together. You go in the whole party. The other thing was the bartenders would open multiple bottles of name liquors. Whereas if they just used, and we ended up with, half full bottles, 2, 3 of the same brand.
Right, because if they're unopened, you can go back to the liquor store and say, I overbought. All right.
And in many cases, when we tried to find the staff to do stuff, this was in the preparation, they were somewhere on their cell phones. They were constantly having to ask them to get off their cell phones and come and help.
All right. What did you think you were going to be paying them?
$15 an hour unless they were good, and then we were going to give them more.
All right, so then you tell them, I'm going to pay the waitstaff, you pay the waitstaff. The waitstaff starts to complain to you, this isn't what we talked about, right? And then you send an email to them saying, listen, you shortchanged the waitstaff a total of $433.75. Right. I need you to pay them because, they're looking to me to get paid. And then the fun begins. If you think the masquerade party was fun, you should see these emails, folks. You're telling them absolutely not. How dare you? You folks end up writing these single-space 22-inch emails back about how difficult they were and how cheap they are. And it just went lower and lower and lower from there, correct?
It
right. What did you want to add?
Very dramatic.
So during the second tasting, we also covered the topic of costs, and we were going to itemize everything. And they said, "No, we know you're going to be fair. You take care of it." Okay. I don't want. Did
you guys ever make the statement, "No, we know you're going to be fair. You take care of it"?
I don't know that I would have said that.
I mean, that sounds like something you might have said.
Somewhere in that area, yes.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah.
They asked us if they could send the checks to make up the difference that they thought that the staff was ordered, and we told them unequivocally no.
No, absolutely not.
And then they proceeded to do it anyway.
They did not do their best. They were on the phone. I had to tell them to pass. The bartender was opening up. Right.
Yeah.
And then and it goes on from there. Let me just ask you this: you have a counterclaim against them. Well, you receive a bill that now this is a bill that you had already paid?
Yes.
Okay, and it was a bill that you paid for $8,000?
Yes, something.
One of the items was $500 for taste testing.
Correct.
Because there were 2 taste testings.
Yes.
And were you surprised when you saw in the bill $250 for each taste test?
Not at the time, but later when I learned that if you use a caterer, you don't pay for tastings.
Meaning that's the industry standard. You spoke to
Correct.
that's what you're arguing, is that you spoke to other caterers and that, okay.
Yeah.
So the taste testings, what's the deal here? Why would you charge somebody who ended up using your services $250 for each of the taste testings?
Because our agreement with them was time and materials. And we did not build a profit into anything that was done. We did not build a profit into any
How many meals were served?
2 meals. In fact, they got exhausted and they had to stop at some point because there were just too many items for them to taste.
Did you ever tell them there's a $250 charge for each of these meals that we're having in taste testing? Or it was my time and my efforts and we'll all work it out later? Sounds like everybody was a little loosey-goosey here.
It was because we've done events with them. We've done events at their space, which were wine tastings.
What did you want to show me?
For the tastings, there were a large number of the, one of the events was, there were sushi platters, which were pre-done. The pancakes were ordered.
If you think I'm going to go into how much,
never mind. Half of the food was not prepared by them. It was flown in from people.
Okay, but flown in from people. Okay, gotcha. Let's, Nope, stick a fork in me. I am done.
Catering standard?
This hors d'oeuvre is done, okay?
Catering standard?
Everybody stop. Everybody stop. Let me tell you exactly what is happening here. This is a simple, simple problem. Everybody here, I believe, has a very legitimate difference of opinion. You feel that in general, you were generous and you were overcharged and that they spent like drunken sailors your money without you knowing about it. Whose fault is that? It's your fault. If you don't know what you're spending, then you don't know what you're spending. If you don't have a contract that lays out how much is going to be spent on each thing, this is what happened. You feel like you cannot believe that they threw an $18,000 party and are nickel and diming you over $433. Whose fault is that? It's your fault, because if you don't have a contract and it doesn't spell out exactly what the deal is, then here's a surprise. Everybody has a different recollection about what the deal is, okay? I have to determine what the deal is. I may not have to determine exactly what the deal is because you're the plaintiffs and you're the people with the burden of proof, okay? So if you can't prove that it's what you said, I can just call it. But what concerns me is one particular email that I read. This is from Tricia and Rick, I don't know who authored it, to Neil and Tom. We have been slowly hearing from our staff that they, except for one person, did not receive the amount of money we told them to expect and receive. The main staff was told they would get paid $20 an hour unless they did not perform their responsibilities as instructed, in which case they would get $15 an hour. And then the next sentence is, you did not have license to pay them $15 an hour. So this is an admission on your part that there was discussion about 15 versus 20. So if there's no understanding that you're going to decide whether they're great instead of they're going to decide whether they're great, how do you come off deciding that you're going to decide whether they're great? If you in fact admit that you had a discussion with them, that it would be 20 if they're good, but 15 if they're not, and they decide they're not good, then what is all of this indignance about?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. Does the defendant have to pay the additional $5?
No.
Why?
Because he's the one that made the whole offer.
Well, he's the one that said, hey, I'm not happy with it, but can he rule in this thing? The plaintiff saying the service was great.
I mean, he's paying for it, so I mean, why not pay the extra $5? I mean,
well, he doesn't want to pay the extra $5. What do you think? Does he have to pay it or not?
The customer's always right. I've worked in the restaurants, and no matter what, it's always the customer's always right. And the plaintiff is the one that
he made the deal, so he has to live by it.
Right.
Okay, going inside the courtroom.
You don't have a right to the $433.75 under the facts of this case without having a written agreement beforehand, and much less with an email that acknowledges that 15 is what was discussed if the people weren't up to par.
Can I say one thing?
No, you cannot. So therefore, you don't get the interest and you don't get the administrative costs. On your counterclaim against them, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You behave in a fashion when you get that bill as though it's not an outrage. You went ahead and you paid the $500 for the 2 taste testings, which is kind of an acknowledgement that you expected to pay for all that time and effort and cooking and whatever else, whether it's flown in, prepared by her, or whatever the heck it is.
Your Honor, we can...
No, you may not.
Oh.
This is the part. What part is this, Douglas?
Time for you to rule.
Okay. So when you go ahead and pay it, and even if you guys did not agree specifically on what the tasting would cost, you certainly agreed on time and expenses. And in a very loosey-goosey kind of way, because you can afford it. So it was just kind of that way until it wasn't. Everybody's happy until they're not. Then they come in front of me. So, but the best evidence of that is that it was paid until there was a discrepancy on the other thing. So on your counterclaim, 0. On your claim, 0. Was the party fun?
It was wonderful.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Send me pictures. Good luck, folks.
Will.
All right, hold on right there, please.
So, in what was a very interesting case, if you'll step over here, sir, please. Let me just chat with you for a minute. I mean, this was really interesting, very interesting. I think everybody who watched this learned something, and I hope you learned something. Did you?
We learned about contracts, and
Yes.
you can't trust just speaking to friends or what the past has been experience.
You learned a big lesson. Thank you very much. So if you'll go out to the officer, he's waiting for you. Okay? Thank you very much. Gentlemen, if you'll join me. Nobody wins anything here. You didn't win this case either. If you step right here, let me just ask you something. Did you learn something the hard way here about contracts?
Yes, that you do a complete contract.
Tell me about the party, real quick. How great was it?
The party was fantastic, with the exception that
The food was really bad.
the food was bad and the
And did
decorations
people
weren't.
complain afterwards? Food was lousy, didn't enjoy the party?
Nobody
some-
even talked about the food.
Some of us told them that they never even saw the hors d'oeuvres.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a bust.
The party was good.
The staff that they supplied was a bust, with the exception of 2 people who were really good.
But the party itself,
The party was
overall,
fantastic, and I
that's
will
what
be
counts.
sending the judge
That's
pictures.
what counts. Okay, and do send her.
Oh,
She'll
yes.
love to see him.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
John.
you.
We appreciate it. Wow, what a case. Harvey?
Okay, Doug. So it is, I'm telling you, insane when you have a really important function like a wedding or a big birthday party, something like that, not to have a written contract where all of the specifics, every single detail you can think of, laid out in the contract. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
This is the plaintiff, LaShonda Vickers. She says the defendant's kids used her 2002 Chevy Tahoe as a playground by climbing all over it, jumping up and down on it, and they damaged it. The defendants refused to take responsibility for their unruly kids. She needs a new sunroof and windshield and is suing for every penny of the $5,000 she is owed. These are the defendants, Stephanie and Naquan Mack. Stephanie says no one saw her kids on or near the plaintiff's truck, which was disabled and being stored in the backyard. The only reason she's even blaming her and her kids is because she needs her truck fixed, and she needs someone to pay for it because she has no money. Bottom line, the truck was all but abandoned. There were plenty of people in and out of the backyard, and neither she nor her kids owe a thing. They're accused of trucking around.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant's kids jumped up and down on her Chevy Tahoe and damaged it, but the defendant says no one can finger her kids. It's the case of I can't keep on trucking.
Thank you, Douglas. LaShonda Vickers, you are suing your neighbors Stephanie Mack, Naquan Mack, and Jerome Ford and Naquan Mack Jr. for $5,000. You say you're actually out more than that for damages to your car that you say their children did. Okay, tell me what happened.
Okay, well, I was in a car accident about 2012 on my old job, and a little while after I had a child. She was born August 6th of 2014.
Wow, you're going way back.
I'm
All
sorry,
right.
because that's when I first parked the truck in the driveway.
Okay.
So.
And why did you park the truck in the driveway? Did you park it in the driveway or did you park it in the yard?
In the driveway. Well, it's in.
Were you blocking anybody else if you weren't moving the car?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you live in a house?
It's a 4-family home, yes.
All right. Do other family members have cars there?
No.
Do you have a picture of where your car was parked?
Yes.
Okay. Can I see that?
To show where it was parked.
Okay. What's this a picture of?
That's the front of the house. That's my truck in the driveway.
Which one? This one?
Yes, that one.
Okay. Why did you stop driving the car?
Because of insurance. It was a situation with my license. And
Was that with that accident you were starting to tell me about?
Yeah, well, it was the
Was
insurance.
the accident your fault?
No, it was actually her sister's fault. I was in labor at the time.
Whose sister's fault?
Stephanie's sister.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
Okay, what? Because what? You folks are friends?
Well, me and her sister, Tracy, were friends.
And she crashed a car when you were in labor?
I was in labor with the baby.
And she's driving you to the hospital?
No, we were actually going to take the kids to the beach to get out the house for the summer. It was really hot. We were cooped up in the house, and she was intoxicated, and I didn't know.
Wait, you were in labor? Oh, you mean she just had your car? Oh.
She was
You
driving
were in
a
labor
truck.
with the baby in a hospital?
No, I was in a truck with them.
What are you doing in labor in a truck going to the beach with an intoxicated woman?
They sent me home. I was only 2 centimeters, so they kept sending me home until I, went induced further.
So then you got in a car with a woman who'd been drinking?
I didn't know she was drunk. I did not know.
Weren't you with her?
No, I wasn't. Actually, we had met up. We made arrangements to meet, all of us together, to take the children to the beach.
So she crashes your car, but was it her fault?
It was her fault.
Okay,
When
so
she
it's a financial... Stop. Did you have a financial responsibility suspension based on not paying a judgment? Or did you have insurance when this happened?
No. The insurance was
You're
canceled
supposed to have
before that.
insurance, right?
Yes.
Right. That's your bad. That's why you can't drive your car, because there's a suspension on your driver's license based on a financial responsibility violation on your part of not having insurance and not paying the judgment. So now you've paid the judgment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you can drive the car. Now you want to fix the car up. The car's been there how long like this?
It's been parked since around July 2014.
Okay. This is really tight. Doesn't anybody have to walk back there?
Nobody really goes back there unless it's the kids going in the back to play.
How else can the kids go in the back to play?
That's the only way, climbing over
you
my
have
truck.
effectively deprived them of the ability to go into their backyard?
But
that
to
they're
be
paying
honest,
rent for?
I couldn't move it, Your Honor. My battery was dead.
You could pay to put it somewhere else.
Well, I didn't
that's
have
inconvenient as heck. But what you did was good for you, but then the kids can't even get to the backyard.
Correct.
How old are the kids?
12.
So she's suing the 12-year-olds because according to you, what were the 12-year-olds doing?
I caught them jumping and dancing around on top of my truck several times.
Did you ever bring it to their attention when you would catch them yourself?
Yes.
And is that accurate? Would she come up to you and say, I just saw them on the car?
No, she said that she's seen them in the back. And
in the what?
In the back of the building, and she knows that that's the only way that they can get through.
Did she ever tell you I saw them jumping on my car?
No,
so she's
she did
making
not.
that up right now?
Yes.
According to you? Nobody else used the backyard there?
No.
No. Our kids, they play frequently, kids around the way. So they was trying to get to the backyard to play, but of course, because that truck was sitting there.
Right. They would what?
Yes,
Go on it?
I don't know however they had to get back there. Also, the meter reader guy, he had to get back there. He climbed over it as well.
Miss, I was there when he
Did you
came.
call me miss? Judge.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Judge, I watched him. He stood on my neighbor's gate and leaned his hands on my truck and walked across the gate.
Why is that okay? Why is it okay for you to put something in everybody's way and then be appalled that
it's
people
not okay,
climbed
but
over
I
it?
wasn't working. I didn't have the finances to get my truck back on the road, and I just had a child. I was already out of work due to an accident. I had surgery and everything else.
All that's fine. That explains your situation. It doesn't explain how you go to court and sue for $5,000. That's the part that I'm surprised about.
That's the damages.
Well, let me see the damages. Because you have to be able to prove that every cent of that $5,000 is something done by two 12-year-olds. You understand that, right?
Can I say something?
Do you understand what I just said?
Yes.
So, 12-year-old kids, are the parents automatically responsible if the kids damage somebody's property?
I think absolutely. I mean, I think it's up to the parents to raise the kid correctly to not jump on someone else's car.
Yeah, but kids do stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but until they're able to make their own decisions, 16, 18, whatever you want to consider them as an adult, parents are liable for that.
Parents are always liable?
Yes, definitely. The kid, they're responsible for the kids, so.
Okay, get your point, going inside the courtroom.
So show me first the bill for over $5,000 in damages that the two 12-year-olds did by, according to you now, you say that you saw them on it.
Okay.
December 2015, I was making an effort, this is your statement, to get my truck back on the road. I saw there was a crack on my windshield. I went to co-defendant Stephanie and showed her the damage, told her to please talk to her children, tell them to stop going on top of my truck because they weren't listening to me. I am a single mother with 7 children. Are you really a single mother with 7 children?
Yes.
Are you done?
Yes.
Where were your kids playing?
Well, my kids right now are not there. There's my youngest, she's a year and a half now. She stays with me. My oldest 6 stay with their grandmother. I'm trying to get myself back to work, and I was looking for an apartment recently. So that was my whole process now. My mom pretty much helps me out with the kids so I can get back on my feet.
How would two 12-year-olds have ruined your roof headliner? Isn't that the inside?
By them jumping on it.
How does that separate what year is this car?
It's a 02. He said it's a module. The frame is called the module, and they broke the main frame.
Do you have pictures of the top of the car where I can see that it's dented?
2 of the photos I sent you, one of them shows a picture of a frame that's connected on the outside of the sunroof window. That frame
I'm going to hand these back to you. Pull the 2 you want me to see.
Okay.
Now, at some point, she knocks on your door, and she tells you, they've cracked my windshield, they've done this, they've done that. She tells you stuff because you offer to pay. So tell me why that happens.
No, because one time in the summertime, when I said that she seen the kids in the backyard, she came knocking on the door and having a fit saying that they were in the backyard and she knows that they were running across her truck to get there. That was the first and the last time, because we don't play that with our kids. We have a truck, and I wouldn't want anyone to damage our truck like that. So we had them come in the house, and that was it for them. They couldn't play outside after that. She told me that it was $700. She said, $350. She was like, so we could just go half. So I was like, okay, that's fine, because I know the kids was back there and everything like that. So I said, you know what, I'll help you out with it, because if it was my vehicle, I would want, someone to say the same thing to me. So I was like, fine, I'll just help her out with it. Then she came to us with 2 estimates, one for $1,400 and then the next one for $2,800. So we were like, okay, wait, whoa, what's all of this? What's going on? The vehicle is not even worth $3,000.
Yes. So what is this? What are you showing me there?
That's where the mechanic had to seal it with silicone, because every time it snowed or rained, the water was leaking straight through the sunroof window into my truck.
Yeah, but kids don't have to be dancing on there for people to have sunroof leak problems. That happens all the time. What year is this car again? I'm sorry.
It's a 02.
Yeah, that happens all the time. What is this unit here?
That's the frame that goes connected to that window on the outside that was also broken. When I went to have it checked for the water leak, he pulled that down and he said, this is broken. And that's when he looked in and he see that the module, the frame, you can't see it because it's inside. It's literally in between the front, like the roof of the truck.
Now, so what is this about coming to them with a bill for 7, then for 14, then for 28?
I didn't come to them with a bill for 7. I went back and he gave me an estimate for one with used parts. Every mechanic that I went to recommend that I do not get used parts because it's the roof and I don't want any further problems or anything else.
That you not get used parts? You have a 14-year-old car. Your whole car is a used part.
I agree with him, though. Still, I don't want to get a used part from a junkyard or wherever, and then I have further problems. I have children,
Why? The used part is going to be younger than the rest of the parts on your car. You have a 14-year-old car. No, you think it's fair for you to tell them it's $700 and then tell them it's $1,400, then tell them it's $2,800, and then tell them it's $5. No, and keep going, because if we wait another summer or another few months, it's going to be 10.
When I told them the $700, I didn't have an estimate.
Listen. Other than showing me this, which shows me that you had a leak in your sunroof, like pretty much anybody with a 14-year-old sunroof will have, and showing me this, okay? What evidence do you have of physical damage to the top that would justify $5,000? Because I'm going to assume that the kids are, in fact, crawling over your car to get to the backyard. I'm going to assume that that's happened.
Yeah, but I've witnessed them standing on my driver's side mirror, dancing on it, and when I came out, I literally...
You strike me as the kind of woman who would witness them dancing on the mirror and dancing on the car and not at multiple times and never call the police.
And immediately I told them I didn't want to take it to the police. And if you read the statements...
Do you feel like you're not responsible for any of it? Or do you feel like you're responsible for something?
I don't feel like we're responsible for any of it, but we really agreed to give her $350 from the get-go. But like for her to just try to sue us, I
for $5,600. According to her, the damage is $5,660 for the leaky sunroof.
The blue book value of that vehicle is only like $3,000.
Do you have a picture of a hanging headliner that needs replacing?
I'm sorry.
Why does a headliner need replacing here?
I don't even know what.
Okay, well, you know what? You can't just bring me this jacked up thing and not explain it. Look, here's how it works. I need to see some damage physically that would come from stepping, as opposed to what every sunroof that's 14 years old and leaks has, which is just the leaky seal. Because what I'm seeing is the leaky seal issue. And I'm seeing a really bloated estimate for the leaky seal issue.
It's not just the leaky seal, it's the frame. And the reason you can't see the frame, because they literally have to take the roof apart for them to pull out the sunroof for you to see it. And if
I can't see it, how can they see it? And they pay for it, for something that nobody can see.
The mechanic went up on top himself, and he opened up the sunroof window when he pulled down the frame from the outside that was broken.
That's a perfect time to take a picture.
And he looked inside, and he told me that the module frame was broken. I also have messages between me and Stephanie. She never denied the damages. I have witnesses of other neighbors that witnessed these kids.
So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to order you to pay her $350. If half of the initial estimate of $700 was good enough for you then, it's good enough for me now. $350. That is my ruling. Good luck.
Wow. Wow.
So the plaintiff gets a judgment for $350. It's a lot less than she was seeking. You think it's fair?
Oh, absolutely. The car is not even worth $3,000. Like, why would anyone pay any more than that?
All right. Do you feel that's okay yourself?
$350 is okay. Just, it's okay.
All right. So be it. Thank you very much. You have a few documents to sign back there. We appreciate you speaking with us. All right, Ms. Vickers, step out here. You were shocked when she said $350.
She didn't even give me a chance to listen to my case. She didn't even look at most of the evidence I have.
Let me ask you a question.
That's crazy.
I saw the picture. You said you couldn't move the vehicle. Couldn't you have pushed it back? You said it didn't run. Couldn't you have pushed it?
I'm supposed to push that truck back. And if you see the backyard, it goes around. My truck couldn't get in the backyard.
All right. Okay.
The space is too tight.
Well, sorry. That's the judge's decision. Okay.
That's crazy. I need my...
Harvey, she's not happy at all.
She is not happy, Doug. Look. This law about parental liability, it varies from state to state. In some states, parents are liable only when the kid does something malicious. In other states, if the kid is negligent, tough luck for the parents. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the plaintiff, Kim O'Connor. She says the defendant, her friend of over 30 years, is reneging on repaying a loan she made him, and she's had it. Almost immediately after she lent him the money, he went missing, and she had to hire a private investigator. The guy's been in and out of jail ever since. He's currently out, and she feels this is a good time to sue him for the return of the $1,500 he owes her, because who knows where he'll be tomorrow. This is the defendant, John Costa. He says he worked for the money the plaintiff paid him by doing things around the house for her. Because she got divorced, the plaintiff tried to become romantically involved with him, and he wasn't interested, so he stopped taking her calls. Now she's turning the money she paid him for his services rendered into a loan, an investment in his business? Come on, lady. He's accused of hurting a friend's feelings. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,500 for slander.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that the defendant went MIA on a loan. He's been in and out of jail, and the time is right to sue. But he says he worked off the loan, plus he hooked up with her. It's the case of don't con a con.
Thank you, Douglas. Kim O'Connor, you are suing John Costa for $1,500 that you say you loaned to him and he has refused to repay.
Right.
Tell me what happened.
Well, we've been friends for over 30 years and everything, and I think he moved to Arizona for years. We weren't in touch. Then we got in touch again, and we started hanging out, and he came over to fix my lawnmower one time and didn't even fix that. But we've been friends, and he had
I'm sorry, he came over to fix your lawnmower?
Lawnmower, couldn't even fix that right.
Were you employing him to fix your lawnmower?
No, just as friends.
Okay, so he came over as a friend to fix your lawnmower.
Yes, and we hung out everything, and we got talking, and he was a welder. And he had just a truck, not an office, anything. And he wanted to get an office going. So he needed $1,500 to have a computer and everything. And he says he missed all his calls because he was on the road doing work and everything. And I told him, he asked me about $1,500. And I said, yeah.
Wait, but what's the $1,500 for?
Because he wanted to get an office open.
Yeah, but you don't need an office to return phone calls. You need a phone. So why is how is the explanation he's giving you holding water with you?
I was talking to him at the time I lent it to him.
Yeah, I know. What I'm asking is, why did you fall for that?
Because he was my friend for over 30 years, and I believed him.
Okay. So you loan him the money when?
July 5th, 2010.
2010?
Right.
Okay. And then what happened? Because that's almost 6 years. You've just barely made it before the statute of limitations.
Well, he's been in and out of jail. So I saw him the day he got out of jail. I walked up to him, gave him a hug, everything, and then now I started.
Wait, how did you see him the day he got out of jail?
At Walmart.
Just coincidence?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you knew that was the day he got out of jail?
Yes, because I talked to him. Because I went up to him, hi, Johnny, because we were friends.
Right.
I think we're still friends. And
oh, well, this kind of lawsuit has a way of getting in the way of friendships. But anyway, go ahead.
And I seen him, and I said, oh, I heard you were in jail. He said, yeah, I just got out today. I said, good for you.
Had you ever said anything throughout all this time to him?
I've asked him every time I see him.
And what is his answer each time he sees you?
Oh, I'll give it to you this day, or I'll give it to you this day, or I'll give it to this day.
What did he go to jail for?
I have no idea.
You didn't ask him?
No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Costa, what's going on?
Well, Your Honor, this is the third time I've seen her. No, I believe it's the second time. The first time I did see her in Walmart, like she said, but that's about the only part of the story that I can absolutely say that was the truth. I did do some work for her back in 2010. I've worked on a couple of her motorcycles, a trailer that was in her yard. I did some work on one of her trailers that hauls motorcycles and things, put the lights on it, one of the crank handles, a few different items. But I did do the repairs. She did lend me some money, Your Honor, and she never said anything about it being a loan or that I was paying it back.
You just said lend me some money. That's
she did write me a check, Your Honor.
What did she write you a check for, if not for a loan?
For repairs.
Okay, slow your roll. Why did you ask her for the $1,500?
The reason for the $1,500 was for work that was being done to the things that she had.
The tinkering?
It was a little bit more than just tinkering.
Show me the receipts for the tinkering.
No, I don't have any receipts, Your Honor. I don't have any receipts.
I mean, it's such a big round figure. Kind of suspicious that you would say that it's for a little work you did on one motorcycle once and a little this you did on that. What did you do?
This was over.
Tell me about all the repairs you did. What did you do?
This was over a time of probably 2 months.
Right, that's why it sounds like utter horse manure. Right. Because no one writes you a one-time check for $1,500 for work that you did over time. I think you're just trying to get out of pain. What were you in jail for?
Collecting unemployment and working at the time.
Oh, that's called theft.
Okay, you have a really good friend, really super good friend, have been in and out of jail for theft. Would you loan a really good friend money?
No.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart answer. What do you say?
Certainly.
Why do you say that?
He must be a hustler.
He's a hustler, but why do you want to get hustled?
Well, sometimes people need it.
Wait a minute, you need to get hustled. That's called masochism.
Hey, this is LA.
Yeah. No, it's New York, going inside the courtroom.
Why were you in and out of jail for that? There had to be something else.
I wasn't in and out of jail. I did a 2.5-year sentence for collecting unemployment.
How much did you collect?
Probably about $3,600.
And they put you in jail for 2.5 years?
Yes, they did, Your Honor.
They didn't plan. Wow. How did you give him this money?
Check.
Oh, let me see.
And I also have my bank statement.
Let's see it.
And if
Did you write anything in the memo line?
Excuse me.
Did you write anything in the memo? Oh, look at that. She wrote loan in the memo line.
But she didn't tell me that it was a loan in the time of the...
Oh, please.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Please, are you kidding me? Have some dignity. If you went into financial trouble, just say so. But how do you stand there as somebody who was a friend of yours, and, you know, you're a sucker. I don't understand how you loan him the money, like, just no, and then that's it. According to you, he disappears the next day, basically. And all this time passes, and you haven't filed a lawsuit, and, I mean, it's just, this is crazy. Wait. No, wait. It's not crazy enough. You have a counterclaim against her?
Yes.
For $1,500 for slander. Tell me about the slander.
Well, she went around town telling people that I'd owed her that money for a loan. This is where she turned it into a loan from things that I did
Really?
for her.
Not from the check that she wrote you that
Well,
you took
that's
in
how
your
she
hand
wrote
that
it.
you cashed at said loan? Not
That's
from there.
how she wrote it.
Yeah, that's how she wrote it, and then you have eyeballs in your head,
Yes.
and then you see it, and then you cash
But
it,
she was
and
never-
then it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's often a duck,
Yeah.
and then you want her to pay you $1,500 for slander because she told all your mutual friends that you're a thief.
Yeah, that's what...
Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Yeah, do you really think it's necessary? Go ahead.
Everybody knows he is.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well, that settled that matter. All right. On your lawsuit against her, $0. And on her lawsuit against you, $1,500.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff prevails here in the People's Court. Mr. Costa, you didn't have a prayer in this case. You know that?
No, I did not.
You know, the loan on the check,
That's right. I understand the way she wrote it was the way it was.
And you knew it.
No.
And you filed a countersuit again.
Yes,
How could
I
you
did.
do that?
I had to.
Why?
Because there was a lot more to it than what was explained.
Well, we didn't hear that.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, come along. This friendship, not a friendship anymore, is it?
Well, we'll probably see friends. I'll say
Well, I mean, you're really nice. 5 years it's been, at least, you know.
He's been in and out of jail.
I'm surprised you didn't file the lawsuit years ago.
Yeah.
Well, you learned.
I gave him a chance.
You learned a lesson hard way, but you wrote loan on the check. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That saved you in court.
Have a good day.
All right, Harvey.
Okay, Doug, look, if somebody owes you money, you can wait until the statute of limitations expires. But the longer you wait, honestly, the fishier your story sounds.